What is the name of the opening prayer before this class? I have not been able to find it. It is here. We have two opening prayers. The Sahana Bhavatu mantra is in this called Shanti Patha, in a file name called Shanti Patha, and the Bhadran Karnebhihi is in the file name called Invocatory Prayer for Amrtabindu. So you can download that. Both are side by side. Invocatory prayer and then Shanti Patha. I don't know which one you're looking for, but you'll find both of them in those two files. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shraddha and the Guru-Shishya connection is what we are talking about. And I talked about not getting fixated on the personality of the teacher. Why? Because the teacher is not fixated on the personality of the teacher. So you connect to the teacher. One connects to the teacher at the level of the person, Purusha. And that person is I. And that I is the same in everyone. Same in you, same in me, same in the dog, same in the cat. That same I that we are trying to know and identify with. One is trying to know and identify with this I alone. So here the I is the object of the study, correct? And the I also happens to be what? Subject. So subject object abheda is there. There is no bheda between the subject and the object. So the one who understands the truth of oneself as Brahman, as free of everything, as limitlessly big, as free of sorrow, fears, tears, samsara, everything, that contented, free person is the object of the knowledge, also happens to be the subject of the knowledge. So my truth is not some kind of a, some kind of a study which is a study, impersonal study. It's a personal study, it's about me. So the more I imbibe this truth, the more I identify with this truth, the more non-separate I am from this truth. Why more? Because one is already non-separate. But in terms of one's, understanding, one understands that there is no separation. So the Guru who teaches this truth about Param Brahma is Sakshat Param Brahma. Param Brahma means that ultimate reality which is I. So that Guru who teaches this is not like a teacher of, botany teaching about leaves, and after 20 years of teaching about leaves goes green, becomes the leaf. No. You don't become the leaf. There's nothing to become because the leaf will always be separate from you. Here, Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The promise of the Upanishad is that the knower of Brahman is non-separate from the subject matter. And so, when I relate to the teacher, I only relate to the teacher as the subject matter. That is very, very important. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Yeah. That is what I have to do. And this is a very important thing to know right from the start, because what happens is that the Vedanta is wonderful and very relaxing, and if the teacher is an authentic teacher of the Shastra, you cannot but fall in love with a teacher. Of course, what is there not to love? Because what the teacher is teaching is about you. So really speaking, you have fallen in love with the mirror. Really. That is reflecting you. And that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing not to love, and that connection must be there because the teacher is all love. If the teacher is a proper teacher, the teacher is all loving, and so therefore it is wonderful to have that and enjoy that. But at the same time, one is careful that when that when I look through the lens of this kind of an affection here is not love, it is, the word for it in Sanskrit is sneha, and it means sticky, oily, viscose substance, very messy. Because the kind of affection I have known has always been vitiated with some kind of a condition. I love you, therefore sit down, authority figure. I love you, therefore you have to do this. I love you, but you are not really up to my expectations. Here the Guru is accepting everything, including my ignorance. Guru is accepting me completely, perhaps for the first time in many, many lifetimes. So naturally, I feel very drawn to the teachings, I feel very drawn to the teacher. There is nothing wrong with that. Because there is an all-encompassing sense of acceptance, and in that acceptance I thrive, I bask, I shine. That is wonderful. But along with that acceptance comes the weight and the burden of several centuries of non-acceptance which this jiva has endured. Neglect, non-acceptance, authority issues, being, the trust being abused, etc., etc. And so, in the beginning there is an adhyasa on the teacher. Oh, this kind of an unconditional love I have never found. It is called Shobhana Adhyasa, a positive transference. And very quickly, after a few classes, it becomes what? Ashobhana Adhyasa. The teacher did not look at me, So somebody said that. And I said, that's because you keep sitting behind a basketball player. How can I look at you? Because you are sitting behind somebody who is always very tall, and then you are sitting behind, and you are sitting behind basketball fellow, and unless I play dodgeball, I can't look at you. And if I keep going like this when I'm talking, it's highly distracting for everybody else. Everybody says, please stop already. So, and that person had never realized that the person would always come to the class and find somebody really tall to sit behind, and then feel the teacher is not looking at me only. What's wrong with me? This is Ashobhana Adhyasa. So this is called a negative transference. And even though Carl Jung is the father of transference, the Vedas, Vedanta was the granddaddy, Pitamaha of transference. All this has been discussed to ad nauseum, in the ancient text, because all our texts are highly analyzed. And Gaudapada Acharya, who talks about the mind, says in the Mandukya Karika, he says, Sakashayam Vijaniyat. Know the mind to have these unconscious triggers. These unconscious triggers will be there and they will detonate. That's okay. Landmines, you don't know where they are. They will detonate from time to time. Nisango pragyaya bhavet. Don't, just witness them. Don't dig them up. Yeah. Na vichalayet. Don't dig them, don't stir into them. Which memory is that? This bombshell has to do with that. And and then there are many people who have opened up shop talking about past life. And in the West and as well as the East. Beware, because all you get is a big headache after going to them, and your wallet is lighter because they are not cheap. Past life regression. Who wants to regress? You want to progress. Something wrong with the title itself. And then you go to somebody and they charge, you pay through the nose, only to find out that in the last life, you were in Sri Lanka. This is our own version of this past life, this Nadi astrology, some Nadi astrology, and you were in Sri Lanka, and then you disturbed a guru in meditation. That's why your life is horrid right now, totally rotten, because that guru had no other business except to give you a curse. Rama. This is what the problem is. And so the negative transference, is what a bubble of the unconscious. And the unconscious is Ishvara Srishti. You did not make the unconscious. It's Deva Srishti, it's Ishvara Srishti. What you can do is change your drishti, that's all. You don't have to mess with the unconscious. That's why Gaudapadacharya says, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't let it keep on coming up all the time. And if it comes up, gentle, loving, hand, or in the case of Lord Dakshinamurti, foot. And there is that apasmara. Apasmara is the name of a Rakshasa, but it means the one who haunts through memories. That is apasmara, through wrong memories. A nightmarish being that haunts through memories, through constant remembering. And the negative transference will come, but then when that comes, you welcome it. You don't, ascribe the teacher as the cause of the sorrow. You say that the sorrow is coming up in the presence of the teaching and the teacher. And then you go back to the first 5, Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha. Those 4, you Aviveka, Vairagya, all that. You look at it upon with love and dispassion, as you would look at with a tantruming child in front of a toy store. You look at it with compassion, and you know that the child says, when the child is sleepy, what does the child say? I want to play. When the child is tired, the child says, I want to go out. And you look at your own unconscious with that same compassion, and then resolve, to do Shama, to let go, to allow that to resolve through yoga, through therapy, through writing it out, through safe ways of letting the unconscious detonate in a quiet place, without harming yourself or others. The unconscious is a gift, really, because it helps all those painful memories to be held in check so that the child can grow up despite all the pain and the sorrow. And then, and then what happens? Then it has to learn to trust again. Whole life is about, it's very interesting. The whole life is about the broken trust in childhood, and then fixing, you can't fix up the childhood ever because it happened, and then you fix up your own trust. You learn to trust again. And the Guru becomes a lightning bolt for this, for casting my mistrust and then learning to trust. It's really very important. I can't underscore this enough. Even if we talk about this in all the classes today, it will be still worth it. I can't stop talking about it. Because it is so important. You can't underscore it enough. So the Guru becomes a lightning rod. Lightning rod, is that what it is? That attracts all the distrust. And that is why we say the grace. That is the grace. The Guru is the one who attracts all the transferences, processes those transferences without taking it on, and is responsible indirectly for the growth of the student, for the growth of the person. So really speaking, this relationship between the Guru and the Shishya is unlike any other relationship on earth or elsewhere. Because in all other relationships there are expectations, and it's a two-sided relationship. Both parties have expectations, both parties encounter hurt and disappointment, and both parties need each other. That's why there is a relationship. This is just a one-way relationship. I need the teaching, therefore I latch on to the Guru, because without the Guru the teaching doesn't come. And the Guru is free. Somebody said, oh, Guru also needs following. No, If somebody says I need following, don't follow them, okay? Even on Twitter, don't follow them. That's the thing. So that, the where I choose to give my trust, that altar of surrender that is going to accept my trust must not need that trust from me. That is what the whole thing. That's why we have to take the time deciding who to follow. Because sometimes the heart is given away to somebody who cannot teach. And then you cannot go to anybody else's class also, even if there is somebody who can teach, you will not allow yourself to go there because the heart is given to somebody who cannot teach. Very difficult. That's why we need a lot of, gentleness here. And the relationship, as I said, is unlike any other relationship. No other relationship comes, even holds a candle to this, because this is the only truly functional relationship that we will find in the earth or elsewhere. Why? Because it's one-sided. It is safe. It is safe. It's not where, I scratch somebody's back and they scratch my back, and then, we look like, monkeys sitting on a ledge, each one scratching the other. That is what is called anyonya ashraya, mutual codependency. See, they had a word for codependency. Anyonya ashraya, that is codependency. Amazing. This Shastra is just mind-blowing, literally. Blows away all the notions. And so this is where the whole the crux of the how to gain the knowledge lies in this one word, Shraddha. That's what it is. And so the connection with the teacher is deliberately one-sided. The teacher is not wanting anything from the disciple. No, but what about Bhiksha? What is Bhiksha? All these you have to address, because this is Kali Yuga. Somebody I met again, I have interesting conversation on the plane, when I go places. And so I was sitting next to an Indian woman, and then she said, "Why are you wearing orange?" I said, "I'm a Swami." And, "Oh, women can be Swamis?" I said, "Yes, we can." And then she said something like, what did she say? She said, "Oh, that's very interesting." And then she said, "Are you educated?" I said, "Yes, I think so." Said, so that means you must have been having a job before you were a Swami." I didn't say anything. So that means, why would you leave the job and become dependent on the society? This is where the thought is. Because the thought is, she looked at me up and down, you don't have any disability, you're able to take care of yourself, and here you are depending on the entire society and being a burden to the society, you able-bodied, good-for-nothing being, I took it as a compliment. But but the thing is, you can't blame the person, because this is what it is. This is how people are thinking and feeling, many people, not everybody, because they feel like this pursuit is a waste of time. What are you going to get out of this pursuit? And you drop out of life and you're not fulfilling your responsibilities, and you're not doing this and you're not doing that, and you're a moocher. You're just mooching off of what people bring. This is what it is, especially in the West. This is the feeling. Some kind of like that, the people who just live on trains. What are they called? The hobos, yes. Some kind of a hobo. Pujya Swamiji would always joke that he would get letters addressed H.H. Swami Dayananda Ji, and he said it would stand for Holy Hobo. Yeah, because there is not a slot in people's minds that there is such a pursuit which necessitates, in fact, renouncing all other pursuits. In fact, this is the only pursuit. That concept is not there. And so therefore, the feeling is that the sadhus are a waste of time and they are a burden on the community, on the society. So that is, that is a misperception. It comes from ignorance. And the same, an extension of that perception includes, oh, but you also need money for your ashram, you also need, what else do people say? You also need students, you also need to eat, you also need to drink. Yeah, but you are not fulfilling that need. That's why it's called bhiksha. You are not fulfilling that need. You are fulfilling that need how? The same way as, as Bhagavan is fulfilling that need. Because if one is meant to eat, one will eat. You can test it out. If you are meant to eat, food will come. Even you will get bhiksha. If you why only me? You will also get bhiksha. You wait and see. If you are meant to eat, something will come. Always it's like that. This is a law, because in Hindi we have a nice saying that on every grain of wheat or rice the eater's name has been written. Because you may cook for somebody, but that somebody says we have car trouble, we couldn't come, and then somebody else comes and eats it unbeknownst to you. And so that's how it is. So the exchange of food or whatever it is, it's a cosmic exchange. It's not. It may be coming through you, but you are not the author of that food. That's what is the idea of bhiksha, of everything. We are in a cosmic exchange. That's how the birds eat. That's how that's how the animals in the wild eat, because it's all there. It is meant to be there. And if the stomach is meant to be fulfilled, even if you don't give bhiksha, something will happen. Roots, fruits, and if nothing else, the front lawn is always there for fresh wheat grass juice. So it gets taken care of, And so therefore it is it's a deliberate setup for a one-sided relationship, so that whatever I do with and for the teacher is for my own growth and benefit. Purposely it is set up. For me to grow out of certain ragadveshas, I take on the concept of seva. For me to grow out of certain rigid ways of being, I do the seva. Because it's all for me. It's a one-sided relationship. And this was something underscored to me recently, by Pujya Swamiji himself. About a year ago, when I was there in India, I had the privilege to meet one of his classmates, from what is that called, primary school. They had been together. And he was telling me all kinds of stories, all the trees they would climb, all the mangoes they would take and eat, and all these things he was telling me. And Pujya Swamiji, as you know, was quite hard of hearing, and he was sitting way over there. This was in a kind of a suite in a hotel. He was sitting way over there, and plus there were many people around him talking to him. And I was on one corner of the room along with the classmate. And then the classmate also he was an elderly person, he did not have a big strong voice, he was also talking in a soft voice. And then he said, I have followed him all my life, I have, attended his retreats, I have gone to Rishikesh, I have gone to Anikati, but this attachment to him, this stupid attachment, I don't know why it never goes. And from the other side of the room, Pujya Swamiji said, it's okay, because it is safe, it is one-sided. He said that. So, that was so eye-opening for me. It was so beautiful. It was a special teaching, and it was very, very special. And of course, in my own way, I wanted to capture that moment. And I thought, okay, I want to capture that smile, and I want to capture what he said. I want to just have a photo of him today so that I remember this, as though the photo is needed to remember. But this was the mad mind going in its own way and wishing for this. But there were people, and I am trying to take a photograph with this small phone, and there are people, and I'm trying to, usually I would tell him that, I'd like a photo, but here I didn't want to come and make a big deal, so I was just trying to do this. There were people, so I'm just going like this, with the phone. And then Suddenly he goes like this, he parts the people and he poses from far away. And he doesn't go like this, he has his coffee cup, he goes like this, with the cup. It's fantastic. Yeah, so that is the blessing, that is the connection. That is just the beauty of, having a teacher and submitting the raga dveshas at the altar, that is the surrender, for it to be lifted and taken away. It's just amazing. So the trust has to be redone. This trust has to be rebooted. There is a complete fresh restart of this trust, because that trust has been eroded by the caregivers. So a jiva being born is naturally not trusting of anybody. In the beginning there is complete trust, but then one finds out the hard way that the mother is fallible. Mother doesn't know what she is talking about. Father also says, I don't know. And father unavailable, mother fallible. And then they get sick also. And they are supposed to look after me, but here they are sick. And the child, of course, is fraught with insecurities. And that insecurity and distrust, because, the distrust caused by the awareness or the understanding of the fallibility of the mother and the father will not stop until as an adult one discovers the mother and the father of the universe. One discovers the infallible as Bhagavan, as the mother and the father of the universe. Until then this distrust will not go. It will just absolutely not go. It will not leave. And so who is the guru then? If I have to go for the mother and the father of the universe, what is this fellow doing here? Now the guru allows this darshan to happen. The guru takes one close to the mother and the father of the universe. Nay, the guru shows the mother and the father of the universe as residing in one's own heart, as the truth of oneself, as non-separate from oneself. So it's almost like the guru opens the heart lotus and steps out of the way. That's why we say that, the Vedantic saying is, when you are ready, the guru disappears. The guru doesn't appears also, but disappears is more important. Because this is not some kind of a cult where you hang on and on. Even in the Upanishads, you gain the knowledge, the person gets up, does namaskar and goes. That's the whole idea. It's a very wonderful thing for which the attitude of trust. So Shraddha basically is faking it to make it. Because naturally I am trustworthy. There is no reason to not trust. But then what is happening? The distrust has come in because of certain experiences, and that distrust has to be worked on, and the teaching itself will take care of that. And that in order to help myself, I replace, trust with distrust. The Samaveda chant says that Shraddhaya Shraddha Setum Stara Dustaran Setum Stara. Cross the bridge that is very difficult to cross. How to cross it? Cross, Satyena Amritam Tara. Cross falsehood by truth. Cross Ashraddha. Shraddhaya Ashraddham Stara. Cross Ashraddha, distrust with trust, by building a bridge of trust. And so the ability to receive the teachings is a big blessing, because by cultivating that receptivity, what I put myself at the end of this lineage, which is very, very safe, very, very beautiful, and has a lot of bounty to give. This is what is the meaning of Shraddha. It has to be discovered, it has to be cultivated, it overturns my inner psyche of all kinds of distrust, mistrust that is hidden there. All the cockroaches of distrust run away. So, this is what is Shraddha. That is why it is very important. Then finally we have one more. What is that called? Samadhanam. Single-minded focus. That single-minded focus is something which is important, because that's what I was trying to illustrate by the airport example. You don't forget the airport. You don't get lost in the supermarket, or you don't move into the friend's house that you have visited. Oh, I think I'm going to stay here. What about your trip? Oh, yeah, right. You don't do that. You remember what that goal is, and that goal being yourself, for which there is self-ignorance in knowing the self, and the self-ignorance needs a tool to be removed, and that is the teaching. And so therefore I'm focused on the teaching, that single-minded focus. And even in class, the mind tends to go here, there, everywhere. I bring it back, I bring it back, I bring it back. That's why I said, somebody said, how come you don't have more meditation sessions? All this is a meditation. This is an open eye meditation. This is dhyanam. So this is adhanam, where the mind is kept in its place, where it's kept focused, where the distractions are not allowed, whether in the class or whether in one's life, the distractions are removed. So these shamadama, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, samadhanam, these 6 along with the other 3, viveka, vairagya, and what is discussed here, mumukshu, mumukshutvam, mumuksha is the what is that? The bundle of qualities or prerequisites for Vedanta 101. For Vedanta 101, these things have to, be addressed. After, write it down. I'll answer it after class. So therefore, what is done here is only the mumukshutvam is talked about here very beautifully. And then, so mumukshuna, a typical passive construction, very beautiful passive construction here. In English, something else I want to say here about the grammar is that in English we have a saying that passive constructions are not very strong, and you avoid passive constructions because the I is predominant. Ahankara is so predominant in the West that that's a Western way. Who did this? I did this. Whereas it's much more nicer in Sanskrit and Indian languages, it was done by me. Because done means it's not just me, there were so many other forces, and yes, I'm at the end. Because when in the active voice, I'm at the beginning. Yeah. So karyam, nityam karyam means all the time, mumukshuna karyam. This is like a duty. Karyam, karana yogyam, that which is worthy of being done. That's the meaning of the word karyam. That is, it is worthy of being done. What is worthy of being done? Sweeping of the mind. Nirvishayam karyam. Here not nirvishayam, nirasaktihi. Karyam sada nityam mumukshuna. So by the mumukshu, this has to be done. By the one who is interested in the teaching, something has to be done. What is that something? Nirvishayam manaha karyam. So the mind should be free, period. Free of what? Free of asakti towards vishayas, beliefs and all these things. Okay? And then why should the mind be free of vishayas and the asakti towards vishayas? That is explained in the first line. Yataha, because of the fact that nirvishayasya asya manasaha muktihi ishyate. Because one's freedom is dependent upon what? Is dependent upon having a mind that is free of involvement with the objects. Since it is because of this dependency, because Vedanta will not go in otherwise, therefore nirvishayam ataha manaha kartavyam. So you have to make the mind free. That is what is talked about here. And the question is how to make this mind free of asakti. And so for that, and that is going to be explained in the verses that come, but we can help ourselves to think about how this resolution of the mind is going to take place, and how is it going to not be object dependent or have asakti for the objects. So the first thing is, of course, meditation, correct? Yeah, because there are two problems with the asakti. What are the two problems? One is, the chanchalatvam. What is chanchalatvam? Chanchalatvam is the restlessness. Yeah. This is what Arjuna complains in the Bhagavad Gita. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balavad dhridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. You say that I have to manage this mind. It is so restless. If you had asked me to catch the wind and bring it to you, that's easier. This is dushkara. It is, very difficult. Very interesting. Sudushkaram. So it is extremely, nicely difficult. Yeah. Very difficult. It's like catching hold of the wind. And he's catching hold of this mind because the mind is like the wind. That's why it's called manojava. Manojava means the speed of the mind is bigger than the speed of the light. You think of Africa, you're there. You think of India, you have gone. Gulab jamun, it's already tasted and digested. Everything mentally, So therefore, this mind, you don't know where it is right now. It just came back from India, but I think it's now gone to Europe. Where is it first to catch it? Just like the wind, you don't know. Chanchalam. And so you tell me to catch the mind. How am I going to catch the mind? And Lord Krishna gives a two-pronged approach. He agrees with it. Yes. That is true. Chanchalam, asthiram, all right. Your mind, everyone's mind is chanchala. But he says that's not important. Mind has to be chanchala, otherwise how will you perceive movement? If I go like this, and if the mind is not chanchala, you will just, the mind will be stuck in one place, you will not be able to see motion. You will not be able to see either motion or emotion. You will not be able to witness anything. And and when you see something, you see an elephant, and then on top of that you see a fruit after the elephant, then the fruit will be balanced on the elephant. And then on top of that you see a giraffe, and so it's just, then nothing will go away. The mind works because it is a clean slate each time you perceive something. A little bit of a hardship for declension rules in Sanskrit. That clean slate. But this is how it works. That perception happens like that. And so therefore you cannot complain that the mind is not fixed. But you can manage it. Grihyate, it is managed. Lord Krishna says, abhyasena and vairagyena. Through two approaches he gives. Abhyasa, here is repetition of what? Repetition of making the mind dwell on some things that I want it to dwell on. It's like any other muscle. Yeah, it's a subtle muscle whose location we don't know. But It is a muscle that is a muscle that builds up after some time. So abhyasena kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So abhyasa means the ability to bring the mind back, and that is what is meditation. Chitta naishchalyam is the prasada of dhyanam. Dhyanasya prasada is chitta naishchalyam. Naishchalyam, nishchalasya bhavaha. Naishchalyam, the ability of the mind to stay with the object, whatever you want, rather than go all over the place, is the blessing of the meditation, is the gift of meditation. Because in the meditation you bring the mind back to the chant, back to the chant, back to the chant. Whenever it strays, you bring it back, strays, bring it back, strays, bring it back. And so when you do that for half an hour or however long you meditate, then during the day you are also able to call it back. You won't be so distracted. So chitta naishchalyam. And then the second one is what is called chitta shuddhi. Because there is ashuddhi in the mind. That ashuddhi is in the form of kama, but then kama brings in krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, all those negative emotions. And all that negativity and all that is what is called chitta, ashuddhi. And that ashuddhi goes away through what? Vairagya. How to practice vairagya? By giving. How to give up? By giving away. Giving away your time, giving away your, things, giving away. Giving away you practice vairagya. Sometimes you have to grit your teeth before you give away, but that is good. You give away, and when you give, danam, charity, and when you give of your time, when you give of your presence, when you give things like that, and what happens is that you grow, and then the mind also becomes calm, because the mind is kind of clinging to those objects and clinging to the concept of those objects sometimes. And so here the mind is freed of that clinging completely, because I have sacrificed, including the notions, I have sacrificed beliefs, notions, ideologies. I keep giving away, giving away, giving away. And when I practice this giving away, then the mind also stabilizes a little more. Let us look at the next one. So verses 4 and 5 will go together, because there is an interconnection. Nirasta vishaya sangam, sanniruddham manohridi, yada yatyatmano bhavam, tada tat paramam padam, tavadeva nirodhavyam, yavat hridi gatam kshayam, tavadeva nirodhavyam, yavat hridi gatam kshayam, etadjnanancha dhyanancha, shesho nyayascha vistaraha, nirasta vishaya sangam, sanniruddham manohridi, यदा यात्यात्मनो भावम् तदा तत्परमं पदम् तावदेव निरोद्धव्यम् यावत् हृदि गतं क्षयम् एतज्ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः. Yeah, very nice set of verses. Yavat, tavat connection. When, then, So it's kind of a directive where the teacher or the sage here expounds a directive of talking about how to, the preliminaries of the meditative experience or the meditation. So, there are two things that are talked about in the first line. Nirasta Vishaya Sangam and Sanniruddham Mano Hridi. Both these we have to take a look at. So Vishaya Sangam is the same as Vishaya Saktihi. First is said Nirvishayam. Now they are giving a clue. The Guru is giving a clue how to make the mind free of Vishayas. You don't make the mind free of Vishaya. You make the mind Vishaya free of Vishaya Sangam or Vishaya Saktihi. Sanj, to cling. So you free the mind of its clinging nature. And that clinging can be directed to objects, people, beliefs, whatever it is. You take away the clinging and the objects, go. So nirasta, astam. Asta means, from us to what is that? To throw, or asta also means set, like the sunset. Astam yati. Na udeti na astam yati, like that there is a line. So that which has set. Nirastam, that which has set. What has set? The sun of clinging to the desires has set in which mind? That mind is set for Vedanta. That is what the whole idea is. We are just looking at the meaning. So the Vishaya Sakti has set. The sunset of Vishaya Sakti, the blazing fires of clinging desires for objects has now attained sunset, has now, astam gataha, and then what? That is the first condition. Before this knowledge can take place, before even this meditation can take place, what should the frame of the mind be? So, nirasta vishaya sangam, first condition. And what is the second condition? Sanniruddham, from rudh, to stop. To stop the mind. Sanniruddham, samyak, nishchayena, ruddham, sanniruddham, that which is completely, properly and definitely stopped. Stopped from going anywhere else other than where it belongs. But where does the mind belong? You just said it doesn't have a location. Upanishad thinks otherwise. Upanishad thinks the mind has a location where Hridi, in the heart. Very, very interesting. We are just looking at the translation. We'll take it up later. Okay, so the mind, has to sink into the heart after all the Vishaya Sakti has been removed, and then what? Yada ayati atmano bhavam tada tat paramam padam. So, atmano bhavam is one's nature, Satchidananda. One's nature, until one gains one's nature, atmano bhavam, of one's own nature, and tada means then the person attains what? Paramam padam, the ultimate goal. Just the translation today, nothing else, okay? Tavadeva nirodhavyam, until that time this kind of stopping or staying the mind, allowing the mind to stay in the heart must be done, must be practiced. Till when? Hridigatam kshayam, until the mind dissolves, until the mind kshayam yati, until the mind resolves, dissolves, whatever it's supposed to be. Kshayam means it's just poor thing, it's on dry bread and water, because all the vishayas are denied to it and it's put to bed without any food, like the children of old Mother Hubbard, and that's what, so that's what it is. So the mind is, until the mind becomes a pixel and then disappears, until then I keep it safely in the heart. All this we will understand. We'll just look at the words and the meanings today, okay? Yeah. All this, until that mind disappears, I keep it in the heart, until it dissolves, and then what? This is knowledge, and this is meditation also. This alone is knowledge. Etadeva jnanam, because that eva, tavadeva nirodhavyam, that eva should also come down. Etadeva jnanam cha dhyanam cha. This is meditation, this is knowledge also, and here dhyanam is contemplation. This is knowledge, this is contemplation. Oh, what about the rest of it? Shesham, what? Nyayam cha, nyayascha vistaraha. The rest of it is just talk. Talk. That makes one go talk. And this is what it is. All that, the rest of it is verbiage. That sounds logical, but it is not. Very intriguing set of verses. Yeah. But we are not touching them today other than to translate them. Okay? Yeah. So we'll come back today. What time? 12 o'clock. Manisha Panchakam. Have a cup of coffee before coming. And then 4 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. What is there? Panchadashi. Okay? Alright. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay. See you sooner.